There was one, who's that guy? Who's that dude that says like hell is fake or something? He says like, "Oh, when you go to hell, you just like you're like poof, dead like immediately." Who is that guy? A messenger of truth.
He says Bible says like sleep, Bible says like destroy. Yeah, that's totally what AMOT does. I mean, come on, give me a break, dude. Look at these guys laughing. He's an annihilationist, and he said rot in hell. Oh my gosh, so funny. Like, dude, pause for a second. Think about this. Again, you made the assertion that the righteous go to heaven, whereas only the wicked go to Hades, awaiting the final judgment. But you totally ignored 2 Maccabees 6, verses 18 through 23, which is also part of your canon. Hello everybody, welcome back to Study is Key. That is, welcome back if you've been here before. If you've not been here before, welcome to the channel. Hopefully you'll stick around to the end of the video and then subscribe to the channel so you can stick around for future videos as well. So about half a year ago, Cleave to Antiquity, who you see on screen there, also known as Ben, because that's his real name, Ben was live streaming, and I sent in a super chat, a $2 super chat or something, asking him how Eastern Orthodox believers interpret Sirach 17, 27 through 28. Now, for those of you who don't know, Sirach 17, 27 through 28 teaches soul sleep. Okay, it just very frankly does. Very obviously does. And Cleave to Antiquity, for those who may not know, used to be a Protestant apologist on YouTube and converted to Eastern Orthodoxy through his nose. And so he converted to Eastern Orthodoxy. He converted to Eastern Orthodoxy. So he converted to Eastern Orthodoxy, and as an Eastern Orthodox believer, he now must affirm that the Deuterocanon is in fact inspired by God, that it is on par with what we Protestants call, the 66-book canon of Scripture. So I was interested. I wanted to hear what his interpretation of Sirach 17, 27 through 28 was, and he was live streaming with a guy named Dr. David Patrick Harry. And they gave their interpretations, and needless to say, I think they were very bad. And so if you guys are interested in, seeing how I handle that text or how I interpret that text and, confirm that, yes, it is in fact teaching soul sleep, you can go watch that video. And that video led to a rather large Christian channel finding me. His name is AMOT, or A Messenger of Truth. And he found me because I assume this is why the title of my video was playing off a title of his that he made, replying to Ben, to Cleave to Antiquity, or not replying to, but just addressing him. And so I assume that's how he found it. I think his title was, This Guy Smelled His Way to Eastern Orthodoxy, which was a hilarious title. And Ben from Cleave to Antiquity found that video, and he was laughing at the title. He thought it was a funny title.
There was one, who's that guy? Who's that dude that says like hell is fake or something? He says like, "Oh, when you go to hell, you just like you're like poof, dead like immediately." Who is that guy? A messenger of truth. His video I thought was actually pretty funny because on his thumbnail it was like, what did he say? He said he smelled his way into orthodoxy. Dude, when I saw that, I broke down laughing, dude. I was cracking up at that thumbnail. It was like me like this. It was just like he smelled his way into orthodoxy. Oh, dude. I thought that was funny.
And so I played off of that in my video addressing Ben, and it led to AMOT, or A Messenger of Truth, finding my channel and subscribing. So I guess it all comes full circle, kind of. Today, we're going to be addressing Ben from Cleave to Antiquity again, and defending A Messenger of Truth. Defending my subscriber. There you go. That's a title or a thumbnail that I could use. So yeah, in this video here with Redeemed Zoomer, Ben from Cleave to Antiquity creates a Protestant apologist tier list, and so we're just going to look at the part where he brings up A Messenger of Truth, because I want to, again, defend my subscriber, let's put it that way. And just, again, point out the, I'm going to say, hypocrisy from Ben. I'm not going to address everything they say in this video because I'm not aware of every situation that they mention or whatever. So we're going to keep it focused on what specifically I want to talk about, and we will see what that is as we go along. So without further ado, let's play this video here.
Anything like that. So I'd bump him above him. Yeah. All right, here we have a messenger of truth.
F.
Yeah.
Look at Redeemed Zoomer just shouting F for fantastic, or for friendly, or maybe for forthright. He's just a fan of AMOT, I guess.
This guy,
this guy says I'm not Protestant. What is F even on the tier list?
The lowest is E. So
okay, we're pretending E is F because E is not a real grade. No, I've never gotten an E in school. I got an F1. Okay, the first F I ever got is I'm in seminary right now. I took a class on Karl Barth, and I didn't take a class. I signed up for it and then dropped out of it. But there was an error, and it didn't actually drop out on my transcript. So it was just a scheduling conflict, but it shows up on an F on my transcript. So the first class I ever failed in my entire life is on Karl Barth, which is funny.
Nice. All right, I'm going to update this. I'll actually change this E to an F.
Okay, great.
That way it makes sense. But yeah, messenger of truth, I think he's probably one of the worst.
He says I'm not Protestant because I think baptism saves. So by his standards, Luther is not Protestant.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not going to address this. I have no idea what AMOT has or hasn't said, and I don't. Yeah, I'm just missing some probably important context here, so I'm just gonna leave that be.
Well, this guy says the most craziest stuff, but he never actually backs up any of his positions. He just makes a million assertions and then doesn't give any positive evidence for it.
Well, Ben, that just doesn't strike me as true. And in fact, it strikes me as something that you did in that live stream of yours when I sent in the question.
How do Eastern Orthodox interpret Sirach 17:27 through 28? I have it pulled up here. It says, who in Sheol can glorify the Most High in place of the living who offer their praise? The dead can no more give praise than those who have never lived. They who are alive and well glorify the Lord. I know how I would answer that, but you want to take a crack at it?
Go ahead. I'll pull it up in my Bible. You take a shot and then I'll follow up.
Sure. So at least from my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm incorrect, in Orthodox theology, there is heaven, there is Sheol, there is hell, but people don't go to hell until the final judgment. So those that are awaiting the final judgment are currently in Sheol, but the saints that are in heaven, they absolutely are alive and praying for you. It's not that everybody who dies is in Sheol, every single person ever. The saints that are glorified in heaven, they're currently there, and that has to do with the process of theosis. So that would kind of be my answer there, referring to those that are in Sheol currently awaiting the final judgment.
You made some claims and you did not back any of them up, right? I asked you specifically what Sirach 17:27 through 28 means. How do you interpret it? And both you and David Patrick Harry happened to give different interpretations. I don't know if you guys even noticed that you did that, but you gave different interpretations of Sirach 17. And yeah, I mean, what you said in that video, again, I just invite anybody who hasn't seen the video to go see it if you want, a fuller treatment. But what you answered was, oh, well, the saints are alive in heaven. The wicked are in Hades awaiting the final judgment. You just asserted that in that video or in that live stream. That was a mere assertion. You did not defend that. You didn't bring up any passage to back up your claim. You just claimed it.
He'll go through a bunch of scriptures that he feels like support his position, but he doesn't actually tie it into anything. So I remember he was doing
What do you mean by brings it up but doesn't tie it into anything? I mean, if he brings it up, it is to tie it to whatever he's talking about in the first place. I mean, maybe you might say he doesn't expound on the verses he brings up, but obviously they're tied to something because he's bringing them up to make a point, to defend a certain proposition. But you might explain what you mean here, so let's let you go a little bit.
He did a video on like annihilationism or something, and he was like, look, Bible says like sleep, Bible says like destroy, like ignoring every other passage.
he says Bible says like sleep, Bible says like destroy. Yeah, that's totally what AMOT does. I mean, come on, give me a break, dude. I mean, let's look at a clip from AMOT just to see how he usually handles texts that are allegedly opposed to his own position. All right, so here he's going to talk about Mark 9:48 that speaks of the worm that does not die. Let's see how he handles that.
Where their worm does not die and the fire is not quenched, people use this as if it's like, ooh, the final nail in the coffin for annihilationism. But it literally proves annihilationism. When you read it in context, yes, context is key. It's true, right?
Context is key, but also study is key, by the way. Just shouting myself out.
Better for you to have one eye than having two eyes, be cast into hell, where the worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. Now in my LSB, it's in small caps, meaning this is a quotation from the Old Testament. So let's go there. Isaiah chapter 66. This is the final verse in the book of Isaiah, and it talks about the new heavens and the new earth, all mankind coming to worship before the Lord. Then they, the righteous mankind, will go forth and look on the corpses, the dead bodies of the men who have transgressed against me, for their worm will not die and their fire will not be quenched, and they'll be an object of contempt to all mankind. So is this describing people living forever in a fire? No, they are dead. The wages of sin is death. Again, most people don't know this, and because they will never explicitly say this in their videos or in their articles. They teach, when you push them on this, when the wicked get raised from the dead, are they going to live forever? They're saying yes. They will only ever say yes when you push them on that. They're never going to purposely teach that because that's absurd. And they know it's absurd. It doesn't feel right when it comes out of their mouths. On eternal torment, they're saying the worm will not die, the fire will not be quenched. Well, then why doesn't the Bible describe them living forever in the fire? Why does it say the corpses of men? They have transgressed, they've died in the fire, and this is a very shameful death. They're not receiving a proper burial, right? When a righteous person dies, people miss them. We're not going to miss the wicked people. That is the point of this passage. This is one of the best texts to prove annihilationism, actually.
So again, Bible says like sleep, Bible says like destroy. Is that what AMOT sounds like? Is that really how he argues? I mean, just be fair, be charitable, dude. Like, Mark 9:48 is very often brought up in these discussions about hell, and traditionalists take the phrase "their worm does not die" to be evidence of eternal torment. But when you look at Isaiah 66:24, whence the expression comes, it's very obvious what's in view is not immortal people suffering in pain, it's corpses. If that expression, "their worm does not die," doesn't communicate eternal torment in Isaiah 66:24, you have no grounds for taking it to refer to that in Mark 9:48. Now, you might point to other things in the context of Mark 9:48, but guess what? AMOT addresses those as well whenever they're brought up to him. All right, let's get back to this.
And he'll say the craziest stuff for clickbait, and then the video will be about literally nothing. I remember he had a video that was like against Orthodox, and it was like, what did he say? He said, if you're Orthodox, I wouldn't even look you in the eye. I feel like I wouldn't even give you a hug. I wouldn't acknowledge you.
And people think I'm the mean one. Okay.
He said,
right.
so this guy's an annihilationist. And in that video,
Yeah.
he said, I say this because I care about you. I don't want you to rot in hell. And he's an annihilationist.
These guys laughing. He's an annihilationist, and he said, rot in hell. Oh my gosh, so funny. Like, dude, pause for a second. Think about this. Your view, the traditional view, the eternal torment view, is the view according to which the wicked will be raised, physically immortal, and incorruptible, that is, not subject to decay, okay? So the expression rot in hell is not really compatible with your view, according to which the wicked will be incorruptible. They will be not subject to decay. On the annihilationist position, however, we believe that the wicked will be raised every bit as mortal as they are now, and they're going to be slain, and they will in fact decay. They will rot. They will, I mean, if they're left out in the open, they'll rot, they'll decay. If they're engulfed in flames, they'll burn up, be reduced to ashes. But the point is, we can actually affirm that they will decay. We can affirm that. So it actually fits with the annihilationist position much more than it fits with the traditional view. In fact, let's bring up something that Thomas Aquinas says In his Summa Theologica, if you go to the supplement section, question 97, Article 6, reply to objection 3, here's what Thomas Aquinas says. He says, even as the bodies of the damned will be of the same species as now, although now they are corruptible, whereas then they will be incorruptible. That is not subject to decay. So rotten hell fits totally fine with annihilationism, doesn't fit so well with the traditional view.
Well, to be fair, most annihilationists believe in like a temporary hell, I think. That just
Most annihilationists believe in a temporary hell, I think. I mean, look, I want to be charitable. Of course, annihilationism is not a topic everybody's going to study, okay? Not everybody knows everything about everything. But because of how much of a stir there's been regarding annihilationism lately, I think it would be fair to expect people to know that annihilationists do in fact affirm that hell exists, number one. And number two, they affirm that the punishment meted out in hell is an eternal punishment. It's the death penalty from which there is no return. That is an eternal punishment. Even Augustine characterizes the death penalty as eternal in City of God. I believe it's in book 21. So Zoomer there at least tries to be charitable. And look at Cleave.
maybe. I
Oh
don't know.
man. Yeah, well,
Oh man, you know, pretending like he's still laughing at what he just said. Oh man, just so he doesn't have to address the fact that he totally misrepresented annihilationists there. I mean, like, what is this, dude?
we'll be fair and charitable to him with the
Yeah.
with the F tier ranking here.
Yeah, totally fair and charitable with the F tier. Dude, everything you've said in this segment has been F tier. Like, you think that pointing out that an annihilationist used the expression rotten hell as a gotcha, like, it's so funny. That's F tier. Like, that's totally F tier. All right, I want to rewatch this little segment here and just make an extra comment to point out how F tier Ben is when it comes to the topic that I questioned him about.
Well, this guy says the most craziest stuff, but he never actually backs up any of his positions. He just makes a million assertions.
Okay, makes a million assertions, doesn't back it up. In that live stream, when I questioned you, you made an assertion. You made the assertion that the righteous are in heaven and that the wicked are in Hades. You did not back that up. You just made that assertion.
And then doesn't give any positive evidence for it. He'll go through a bunch of scriptures that he feels like support his position, but he doesn't actually tie it into anything. So I remember he was doing he did a video on like annihilationism or something, and he was like, look, Bible says like sleep, Bible says like destroy. like ignoring every other passage.
Like ignoring every other passage. Okay, like you ignored 2 Maccabees 6:23. Again, you made the assertion that the righteous go to heaven, whereas only the wicked go to Hades, awaiting the final judgment. But you totally ignored 2 Maccabees 6, verses 18 through 23, which is also part of your canon. It says, Eleazar, one of the scribes in high position, a man now advanced in age and of noble presence, was being forced to open his mouth to eat swine's flesh, but he, welcoming death with honor rather than life with pollution, went up to the rack of his own accord, spitting out the flesh, as all ought to go who have the courage to refuse things that it is not right to taste, even for the natural love of life. Those who were in charge of that unlawful sacrifice took the man aside because of their long acquaintance with him and privately urged him to bring meat of his own providing, proper for him to use, and to pretend that he was eating the flesh of the sacrificial meal that had been commanded by the king, so that by doing this he might be saved from death and be treated kindly on account of his old friendship with them. But making a high resolve, worthy of his years and the dignity of his old age, and the gray hairs that he had reached with distinction and his excellent life, even from childhood, and moreover, according to the holy God-given law, he declared himself quickly, telling them to send him to heaven? Hades. Quickly telling them to send him to Hades. Where did this righteous man, Eleazar, expect to go upon death? Was it heaven? No, it's Hades. And in Hades, no one gives thanks to the Lord. No one sings him any praises. Okay, this is the message of Sirach 17, 27 through 28. We can bring it up if you want a little reminder. Who will sing praises to the Most High in Hades, in place of the living who give thanks? Well, sure doesn't seem like it's going to be Eleazar, right? That's where he expects to go, even though he's a righteous man. No, he's not going to go to heaven. He's going to go to Hades, and he's no longer going to thank the Lord. He's no longer going to sing praises to the Most High, because thanksgiving has ceased from the dead. Okay, when you die, that's it. It's lights out. You're done until the day of resurrection. And that's why resurrection is so glorious. That's why we look forward to it. It's not kind of an afterthought, okay? If you go to heaven straight when you die, resurrection is like, okay, cool, I guess, you know? But if there's nothing after death, then resurrection becomes all the more glorious, because that's the point at which your life is given back to you. Now, again, if anybody's interested, I would invite you to watch that video in which I challenged Cleave to offer his interpretation of Sirach 17, 27 through 28. And I go in more depth as to why his interpretation doesn't hold up to scrutiny. And I've also put out some other videos on the channel with respect to that topic, one of them being a video responding to Mike Winger. And in that video, I address 2 Corinthians 5 and Philippians 1, 21 to 23, which are passages that are most often brought up in these discussions about the intermediate state. And so, again, that could serve as an introduction to the topic if you're interested. Roman Catholics, EOs, these guys, they have no good response to these challenges. They just don't. It's not something they think about very often. And so if you are opposed to some of the teachings of the Eastern Orthodox and Roman Catholic churches, namely their articulation of the gospel, then I would encourage you to maybe learn about the intermediate state. Perhaps you'll end up embracing the same view that I currently hold. And I will tell you, I think it's a good tool to have in your toolkit when talking to these guys, because they never really encounter this line of attack, and they really kind of stink at defending themselves against it. Anyways, I suppose I'll leave it at that. AMOT is a channel that I do recommend, actually. But again, and I just want to be clear, of course, I don't embrace every single thing the guy says. Okay, no two human beings agree on everything. Could I even bring up something that I disagree with him about right now? Yeah, I think I disagree with AMOT on the perseverance of the saints, for example. He tends to not call himself a Calvinist, and so I won't call him a Calvinist, but he, I think, embraces Tulip. I think that's fair to say. And I disagree with every single point of Tulip. But he's a brother in Christ. Love the guy. Subscribe to his channel. I think he has a lot of good stuff. I'm going to continue recommending his channel. And yeah, so that's that. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys in the next one. And until then, remember that study is key. And subscribe to the channel. Seriously, do that. Very helpful when you do that. So yeah,